So with that, it's now time for a conversation on new business models to drive customer acquisition and growth with Krishnan Subramanian, Associate General Manager at IT at Asian Paints, and Brishketu Vatsa, Senior Director, Solution Advisory at SAP India. They will explore innovative approaches to attracting and retaining customers. Please join me in welcoming Krishnan and Brishketu, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, audible? Fantastic. Please have a seat. Thanks, Krishnan, for joining us. And thank you all for staying back. And hopefully you all had a good lunch. AI has been a core ingredient in everything that we do. Mostly you would have found some bit of AI also as part of the lunch. I will take some more AI or add some more AI spices to the already going conversation on AI, and I'm joined by an able guest, Krishnan, from Asian Paints, who obviously Asian Paints do not require any introduction as such. I have been fortunate enough to interact with Asian Paints since my inception days in SAP as part of CRM development and also now as part of solution advisory. Been looking at and always getting inspired by Asian Paints since 2015, so it's close to 20 years now. And it has always been inspiring, as I said, to look at how new frontiers have been achieved by Asian Paints. More from Krishnan, and maybe Krishnan, an opening from your side. How do you see AI? AI is a buzz. Before that, how do you see Asian Paints growing in this new generation of technology? We all know Asian Paints from a pure retail, consumer-focused company, but I think it's a behemoth. I mean, you have a lot going underneath. So maybe for the audience, what is Asian Paints? Where does it stand today?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So we've all known Asian Paints. It's been in the decorative paints business for 70, 80 years now. A few decades back, we entered other segments like kitchen, bathware, and elements like that. And about 5, 6 years back, we entered into all elements of home decor, like, let's say, lighting or drapes, rugs, things like that. So over a period of time, we have been transforming from a pure decorative paints company to a end-to-end decor company with a strong presence in paints. So as we enter all these kind of product categories, obviously we are also transforming from a pure B2B company to a B2B plus B2C. Plus also many of these are now given to consumers as services under the umbrella of Beautiful Homes renovation service. So as an organization, we have been going through this huge transformation. And along with this transformation, we have also been very active in the B2B space, where we have joint ventures with the PPG group, where we use that to kind of get into marine paints and protective coatings and things like that. And also we have a very strong presence in the cooperative housing societies and educational institutions and things like that, right? So this gamut of businesses that we have been into, a large portion of that obviously is driven by technology, and what we have identified over a period of time is having a very strong CRM to really deeply understand our customer better and to just help us through that entire customer acquisition, delivery, post-sales processes. And that is one area where technology and specifically AI has really helped us a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add a more flair to people who are from technology background, so we are looking at both B2C and B2B part of business. So customer for Asian Paints is consumers like you and I, and obviously the large conglomerates purely from a B2B perspective. And as I said, since I've had the fortune of looking at Asian Paints technology growth, I've been always reminded of a fact that Asian Paints is not, or rather categorized as in our bracket of industries under chemical. They behave like consumer products, and they have a huge technology presence. So I have failed to categorize Asian Paints as chemical, consumer products, or an IT company, and you yourself have seen this change of technology from CRM, from digital, machine learning, IoT, God knows what all. Where do you see AI now in this entire jigsaw puzzle? Where does AI fit for Asian Paints?
So, if we look at it, see, AI in some form or the other has existed for a few years now. And in the last, say, 1.5, 2 years, we have seen it as generative AI, agentic AI, multiple variants of that really coming, right? So, one area that we've been using it in the B2B space is where we try to get one single view of our customer. And looking at our complexity and scale of business, it's not an easy task, right? So, for example, the same customer, we might reach out through our project sales business, we might reach out for some other businesses, we might reach out through joint ventures, and it will be different units within Asian Paints, different sales teams really interacting, right? But as an organization, how do we get a unified view and ensure that that customer actually gets the best products and services from Asian Paints across the gamut of work that we do with them, right? So in that, getting that unified view of customer and really understanding the potential of that customer and whether we are delivering completely towards that to the best of our potential has been one area where we have used a lot of modeling and forecast predictions and elements like that, more machine learning than the AI part. Some other areas where we have also been working on is really our whole dealer management, right? Getting the right recommendations for the dealers, getting the right scheme to be proposed to them. Mm-hmm. And basis that we have seen a good deal of uptick that's really coming up. And even in the consumer space, when a consumer walks into a Asian Paint store or signs up for our painting services and all, at that time, we used a lot of AI in the visualization part so that the consumer gets to understand how the end product will really look. Because during a renovation process, knowing where you are getting into and what is going to be the end outcome really builds a lot of trust in the whole process, right? Yeah. So these are some areas where we have found good use cases of deployment of AI.
AI. Perfect. And does it now mean that, and not sure how many of you have actually visited the Building Home Solutions, the outlet, but people who have gone there would have had some experience of what you said, the art of selling vision. What is further to come for consumers like us? Where do we see Asian Paints being able to predict my choice? If we go back in history and look at how Asian Paints used to sell, Mera Wala Pink, is this going to be a new form of selling that AI would enable, something you and I would be more associated with?
See, now, if you look at the Indian consumer segment in the last, say, 8 to 10 years, right, the taste of the consumers have been becoming more and more nuanced, and every customer or a consumer, when they go through a renovation journey now, they expect the house to be a very personalized experience. It's not simply coming, waterproofing, painting, and moving on, right? So people want to match the furniture and the drapes with the wall paints, the kind of paintings that you want to have. So the house is truly becoming a reflection of the person who lives in that house, right? Yeah. And for our consumers, we want to give the kind of services which truly reflect that, which basically means that every service that we give to our consumer has to be personalized for that consumer, and that personalization has to be at scale. Correct. Right? So for this now, when we take the entire consumer journey, most of the time we reach out to the consumer digitally, or the consumer comes to us because they know the brand and the website well and all. From the time the consumer reaches out to understands our product, to signs up for the product, goes to an experience center and really sees the whole thing, right? So in that, there are a lot of elements of the consumer's preferences and choices and all that we are getting, right? Yeah. So basis that, how do we build the right solution for that consumer and actually visualize how their end house needs to look? Yeah. Right? So that is something which we've been investing a lot of time, effort and all in that. And we see that through some of our visualization solutions which are now available as apps or in the stores and all. The other area that we have also been looking at is around consumers typically draw inspiration from others when they buy houses, right? Yeah. So I would want my house to look like, let's say, this Bollywood star's house or things like that, right? So we are also building solutions where we just take that entire design construct from that house and actually put it in my house's context and then see how that will look. So for example, like a Scandinavian design in a 2 BHK Bombay house, right? How would that look? So elements like that are good use cases for generative AI, which we've been trying out.
Perfect. And you also have something which is buy the design on your website. So you can go to a website, you can select what design you want to buy, and you buy the rest of the catalog alongside that as well. So I think for the audience, one of the most important areas that they all would love to understand and also take away would be, this all requires deep technology. And as I started my conversation, Asian Paints is also a huge technology organization. So how does this entire thing get orchestrated? Where is the engine? What is the core, heart, and soul of the engine? And what are you doing further on that engine to make it the new generation Rolls-Royce, if you can call that?
See, I think the heart of any of these technology initiative has to be the customer, right? So firstly, we have to be very clear what is it that we are doing for our customer and why is that relevant to the customer, right? So that has to be very, very clear. So if the customer need is very clear and we are able to articulate how we will actually fulfill that need, then the technology overlay then comes on it, right? And then we look at the right technology that will actually solve the problem for the consumer rather than having a technology and trying to figure out how to deploy it and all, right? So which basically means that firstly, we have to deeply understand our customer, we have to spend time with the customer. Secondly, once we have those problems clearly articulated out, then we typically work completely cross-functional. So these are not something which IT alone can drive, right? Yeah. So we normally form small teams which are from a sales team, marketing team, a supply chain team. So it's a small cross-functional team that then looks at how do we solve this problem for the consumer, right? Yeah. And the solutions for that comes at multiple levels. Technology level, changes that we need to do in our ways of working because the consumer preferences have changed. Yeah. Right? So basis that, then the whole solutioning evolves. And over time, we have realized that if we are able to follow this process, right, then what we get at the end actually solves the customer's needs, right? Yeah. Otherwise, it's just we develop something and then trying to push it. Right?
Perfect. So I think the essence here is to solve a real world problem, we actually need to empathize, get to the core and heart of what a customer is looking for, then design a product solution, if I can call that way, and and then look at that as something to be really cherished about. I think we still do have time, so I would perhaps leave the floor open for any Q&A from audience if they would like to. I think there is already a hands up, so I don't know, sir, if you require a mic or you can shout out. Yeah.
So the question was from a customer's experience perspective, how are you looking at XR kind of technology, right? So see, when you look at a renovation or any of the services that a consumer takes, right? Visualizing the way the entire process is going to happen and how the end state will look is very critical, right? And towards that visualization activity, we spend in a lot of time and effort. So for example, we've actually built, based on LiDAR, we have built some apps which our teams can use to just go to a house and just point it out and do the entire measurements of the house, right? So the entire measurements take maybe another 3-4 minutes instead of taking like much longer time. So that really helps the person on the ground tell exactly how much of paint is going to get used, how much is it going to cost, what is going to be the time that it takes, things like that. The second set of things that we have done is on the visualization side, where we actually work with the customer and take their design ideas and allow them to give prompts and see how the house can look. So for example, if I prefer a very traditional South Indian house, so a customer has a view that my parents, grandparents used to have a house like this, and my house should have a corner which is an ode to my generational wealth, right? So then that is the kind of thinking in the customer's mind. How do you actually translate that into how the house has to look? Right? So that's where elements like generative AI helps. So where the customer is actually, so we have apps where the customer can give a prompt, and basis that we identify how the design of the house can be, which of our products can get embedded in that and all, right? So these are all areas where we are actually realizing and visualizing what is in the mind of a customer, and that design or beauty of the house is different from customer to customer, right? So this is something that we have been trying to do.
Maybe on technology, we can further add that there is a lot of technology underneath. So there is variant configuration which goes behind the scene to differentiate how personalization can happen at scale. Then there is a code tool which is able to give LIDA-based sizing into impromptu code that can be given immediately to customers. So there is a lot of technology. I mean, people who have taken BHS services can vouch for it more than we talking about it.
And I think that whole visualization that we talk about also has to translate into a purchase order, a sales order, what is the SKUs that needs to go, what is the bill of materials that needs to be done, right? Okay. So it's actually marrying a lot of creativity on one side with on-ground actual operational activities, yes. Right? So it's a combination that has to transcend both.
Correct. Yes, please.
It aptly said that, Asian Paint, rather than it's a manufacturing company, it's a IT or distribution company. And you talk about any application or digital solution, it is there in Asian Paint. And I believe over a period of time, your architecture would have been very, very complex. So how you really manage so many technologies, so many applications? Will it be a nightmare for you to manage all that? How do you do that?
Yeah, so I think our IT landscape has evolved over decades, right? So initially we looked at the ERP age, the digitization, then slowly we got into more customer-facing apps and CRM. Then we started getting into more and more digital initiatives. So you are right. This is the landscape that has been built over a period of time, right? There are 2-3 foundational things that we have always relied on when we are building it, right? So the first is really looking at, so when we look at software which is infrastructural in nature, for example, an ERP or a CRM and all, right? So at that time, we really look at what is the best in breed products that will actually solve our problems and taking that, right? So that's one layer of software that we are constantly focusing on. The second is the layer of taking this and actually making it meaningful for the end consumer, which is through apps, websites, notifications that go out, through various channels, things like that, right? So that layer keeps on evolving as the customer preferences keeps on changing. So about 7-8 years back, websites was a big focus. 4-5 years back, apps was a big focus. Now we see a lot of things happening on WhatsApp, including commerce and all. So that the front end layer which interacts with the end consumer or our customers keeps on changing. Right? Whereas the core foundational systems that are there are kind of built to last for a few decades, and they get tweaked as and when there are like huge shifts that are happening, right?
Yeah, if no further question, then yes, technology is definitely complex. I can vouch for it. I've seen it. It is complex. No further questions? I think then we give back, close to 2 minutes. Thank you all for your patient listening, and thanks Krishnan for joining us for this session. Thank you.
And thanks to you, Krishnan and Brish, for your valuable insights. Indeed, very promising for driving customer acquisition and growth.